Welcome back. Thank you for staying with Morning Prime. We're talking matters youth and politics as we evaluate the space of the youth in these parties. Even as the party primaries are fast approaching, as we well know, it's usually a high-stakes game, especially in some regions where getting that party ticket is as good as winning the election. And just before the break, we were conversing with Marvin Wamukota, who's right here in studio. We're joined via way of Zoom with Lydia Mathia. And I'd like to begin with Enoch Onkoba this time round. You're from Nakuru County, and I just held up a picture of some, Jubilee Party officials. I don't know if you belong to the party, but it definitely shows that Nakuru is high stakes in one way or the other. But since we were speaking about regional parties, Nakuru equally, as we were discussing during the break, the governor happens to have his own party, but under the Azimio coalition. How would you gauge the importance and the impact of these regional parties when we take a look at the democracy landscape? What's your take on that?
I'll start with what you call the democracy landscape. These very many political parties that are now becoming regional parties and briefcase parties, let me call them that, because they are built around individuals, not necessarily policy, is a show of our deteriorating democracy. Because if we had democracy in political parties, if political parties that are funded through taxpayers' money were to have good mannerisms, we would not be seeing these parties. I think in the last 1 year alone, the registrar has registered close to 30 political parties, because in 2017 we had 68. We have close to 90. So it shows that as a democracy, yes, we are multi-party democracy, but even multi-party does not mean that you have 1,000 parties. You can have two parties that are strong. America is a multi-party democracy, but there are two very strong parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Because they do their things openly, they do their things with some semblance of fairness. I say because I've never been there, so I can't say it's fair. There's some semblance of fairness, and the candidates who lose or win in their party nominations feel that actually I lost because the person who won deserved it. These regional parties are a show of our dwindling democratic values, because if every person, we have, I think, how many governors have political parties now? There is my own governor, Lee Kenyanjui. There is my former head teacher, Obado. There is the Wajir governor. He has his own political party. There is even cabinet secretaries who we know, though they hide behind some people, that we know who UPIA belongs to. We know who is it APA, the Nyamira governor's party belongs to. We have Kingi.
So these are special purpose vehicles.
These are special purpose vehicles, and they are for their own interest. It's like a bargaining chip. It's a plate. Politics has become one of the most luxurious enterprises to invest in. So they're investing in these parties, and we know that this election period, there is money flying around. There are people who want to use everything they have to keep power. So everybody is using that as a plate. Huwezi enda kukula bila sahani.
Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. Lydia, what's your take on these regional parties? And perhaps will we see a walk away from the 6-piece voting system that perhaps was prevalent in 2013 general election? Well, what's your take on that?
Certainly, I think we have seen we are at a period where the domination of political parties, one particular political party is going to be, it's not going to be as it used to be, or as it was, for example, in 2017. And let me tell you, I feel a sense of really nostalgia and a sense of loss, because there was a journey that was started that was going to get us to a point of sanity when it came to political parties. When the Jubilee Party, merged with all these little political parties that were there, the regional parties, the URP, TNA at that time was seen as a regional party for Mount Kenya, And all these parties came together, in a moment of absolute greatness for our country, and formed one big party called Jubilee. It was a big house full of everybody, national party. There's a sense definitely of loss there in terms of the progress that we had made, that the trauma, the political trauma that candidates went through in 2017, it has now a complete frailing now of that party. You're seeing now everybody forming their own party because they don't want to be subsumed. You've seen BAS reactivating itself, BAP reactivating itself because of that trauma of lack of transparency and lack of fairness in the nomination process. So certainly the issue of the sixth piece is going to be much, much diminished, perhaps in some regions, such as, and I suspect very, very mildly, the ODM zones of Nyanza, the wiper zones of Eastern, which I still is very mild. I think Mount Kenya, yeah, truly we are in an absolute crisis. Everybody standing has a political party. I think every county has a political party. And it is really just a pity that we have gone back. And I think it's really good to see Jubilee resurgent. I think they're going to try and correct some of the mistakes of the past. They're going to try and gather some of the people that left the party. And even though it doesn't fully resurge in this election, I believe the vision of His Excellency the President, I was there at that time when the party was being formed, should be able to rise slowly, perhaps in subsequent elections, with a demonstration of fairness, with a demonstration of transparency. You could see a party like Jubilee come back to that point of creating some sanity, perhaps in the second from this one, and also the fact that it should be led by somebody who is not particularly interested, in elective office, because the party leader will now, he's already served as president. He's already finished, everything that he can serve in terms of political ambition. So he will be able to steer the party in a way that is perhaps could be seen as a resurgent Jubilee. I'm looking forward to that journey. 10, 15 years from now, where we could begin to reinstitutionalize our political parties. But let me say, not all hope is lost, because there is this new concept of coalitions. Yeah, the concept of coalitions, which could bring some order and sanity, so that you have a coalition, bringing a lot of parties together. I think we just saw the other day, we were talking about 17, of course, very briefcase parties, but 17 parties. You've seen this other side of Azimio really putting together a lot of political parties. So ultimately, even though there are hundreds and thousands of political parties, they're able to again come together under a coalition, Azimio, Kenya Kwanza, creating some semblance of order and sanity, so that we don't have this proliferation. So not all hope is lost. There's still something to be. There's some takeaway with this coalition business, which is the hope that we can latch on to even as we continue to try and build wholesome political parties going forward.
Okay, well, we hope we get away from the system of special purpose vehicles. But even as you come in, she emphasized on the point of transparency, and it caught my eye that one of these political parties under the Azimio banner will be using direct nominations, as I had mentioned, ODM party, and they mentioned they'll use scientific approach. And that is, according to them, it might be opinion polls. What's your reaction to that? Will we get the true value?
To me, such a method opens up the political party to favorism and to subject individuals who are not pro-people to the people during the general election. Because, all these methods that are being used, if you are told we'll use a scientific method, they are not exactly telling you the how and the how and the nitty-gritties behind it.
Yeah, and so how many people will be questioned?
Yes.
From where,
so if they at all table everything on the table and tell us, yes, the scientific method that we are going to use involves or includes this and this and this, then it will make a lot of sense. But also looking at the political manners, we've always seen every political statement having a hidden card under the table. So that one, it really makes us as people within the political space ask so many questions.
Suspicion.
Because we used to be told every time that an individual will want to do something that is not in line with the law, or it is punitive, they'll tell this is from above.
Yeah.
So I'm sure with such a method we'll be told, no, this candidate, it has already been decided from above. And there is so much that happens within our political parties that we push under the table. And also talking of block figures without specifics as to how it will happen, we're also seeing how these political parties are preparing themselves. And maybe I'll drop in an analogy. You know, our people grows a lot of maize. So if you see an individual growing beans and telling you that at the end of the day, we are going to harvest maize, definitely you will know that is a blank lie. And that is what we are seeing, being told that we are going to use indirect method, but we are going to give you credible leaders. But they are not telling us what parameters are we going to use. And worse still, it is the current regulations actually limits the party hopping. You know, in the past you could get into a party through a nomination, then when you are disenfranchised, when you cry foul, you can easily jump into another one. But we are looking at a scenario where all candidates who will be going through a nomination, they'll be gazetted. So after that gazettement, if you lose, it is only you and your people who will. And we've seen also some parties promising a lot, and I don't know how they'll achieve that. There are other political parties that are telling individuals that if you come to our party, we are going to fund your campaign. You see, that is, and when you look at the trend that gets to that, there is nothing that backs up that statement. So it really puts us at a scenario where we are asking ourselves, they are telling this, but there is actually nothing to back it up and to confirm. We need to be asking the how.
That's really proper. Enoch, your final comments as we finalize.
There's something Marvin talked about the promises the political parties are giving. Remember in 2017, there are parties, I don't know whether it's good to mention, but there are parties that promised candidates, including the how do you call them, the merchandise. And very many young candidates, because the youth will have that as an incentive. Very many young people who had an opportunity to actually win seats if they were in other political parties ran to these fringe parties who promised we'll give you posters for free, we'll give you the caps, the t-shirts and everything. The young people ran to those parties. But once they paid the registration fees, nothing was forthcoming. There is a particular party that followed me a lot. I was a candidate back then. I wouldn't mention it, but I know very many young people who went to those parties, never got any financing, never got any support. So finally,
briefly,
these political parties should know, because as young people, we hold the future for this country. And because very many young people have thrown their hearts in the ring, kindly just give us some semblance of fairness in these nominations. And finally, to the young people, and this is in line with the border actions that we've seen lately, that young people, we are our own enemies. And beginning from this election, we must know that we have a name to build and a future to defend. So we must fight for that.
And allow me to cut you short, so we get Lydia's final take. In a minute or so, Lydia, kindly be brief. Your final take.
I would like to just say that we should not lose hope. We should continue to be optimistic. I think the interest of the nation requires that we have to engage with the process, and we continue to improve our democracy. So we have to participate in this political parties, we have to get in there and try to change them from within. If we form our own, we build them better than the ones that are there. But certainly we have to continue engaging and involving ourselves. And I think that is my parting shot, that we should not give up. We must continue to participate and engage. Okay, thank you for keeping it brief. Lydia, we appreciate your presence right here, the founder of Daughters of the Mountain, equally joined by Marvin Wamukota. Asante sana for your time. Our time is up. Community Youth Mobilizer, thank you so much. And Enoch Onkoba, the Secretary to the Nakuru County Budget and Economic Forum. Well, the future is bright. Thanks for your contributions right here, and we definitely hope for sanity when the party nominations finally catch up. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it KTN News. My name is Jesse Rogers. Up next, George Maringa on News Diary.